The sport of cross-country skiing, as we know it today, can trace its roots to before written history, when ancient tribal migrations would take place on what we would consider a primitive form of the Nordic ski. Nordic skis of some form have been around since there was a need for transportation on snow. In the earliest times, it was difficult to distinguish between alpine and Nordic skiing. If you went downhill, it was alpine probably. And if you had skis attached to your feet and weren't earthbound, you probably were a devotee of Fred Harris. Over time, skiing evolved into the disciplines of alpine, Nordic, and jumping. In some instances, the evolution was more of a revolution, led by men and women whose contributions and achievements are recognized internationally and here in Vermont, with their induction into the Vermont Ski Museum Hall of Fame. He was a guiding force in taking a sport from its infancy to popularizing it for everyone. John Caldwell, known as the grandfather of cross-country skiing, was a four-event skier and an Olympian. He coached both U.S. and Australian Olympic teams and helped found and lead the New England Nordic Ski Association. He coached the Putney School for 3 decades and authored 8 editions of the first book in English on cross-country skiing. How much has changed in the sport over the years?
It's sort of like comparing a Model T Ford from 1932 with a car today. What are the changes? Well, there are a lot of changes. In skiing, the track preparation is much better. The skis are faster. The wax is faster. The uniforms are better. The training is better. The ski poles are better. Everything is better and faster. And that's the biggest change.
John Caldwell's Putney program produced some of the finest cross-country athletes this country has known, including Martha Rockwell, John's 5 children, and Bill Koch. Bill Koch was a revolutionary. He introduced skating techniques and waxless skis, quite an accomplishment for someone whose first cross-country skis belonged on a jumping hill.
My first pair of skis was actually a pair of jumping skis that had the sides cut off to make them narrower. So cut off, it was a 3-groove ski and the 2 side grooves were cut off. So it just had 1 groove in the middle. And I still have those skis. And my dad told me if I won the race that I'd get a real pair of skis. So I did that, got the real skis.
And he powered those skis to international recognition as the first world-class cross-country skier from the United States. This Vermont native was the first American to win a medal in international competition and was the first American to win an Olympic medal in cross-country, winning the silver in the 30-kilometer for the 1976 Games. In 1982, he skated to the Cross-Country Skiing World Championship. Koch teammate Tim Caldwell also skied for the Putney School and was a 4-time Olympian. But for fate, Tim says his skiing might have been a downhill experience.
When I was in 8th grade, I went to the state championships for Alpine, and they were at Mount Snow. And I was 2nd, and so I qualified to go to New England. And they were up in Stowe that year. And I told my dad, and he said, "Oh, great, here's the bus schedule." And that was before Route 91 was all the way up through, and certainly before 89 came through. And so in the end, I didn't go. I didn't want to take the bus up there. The next year, I made the junior national races for cross-country skiing, which were in Alaska, and I went. And they pulled together the money to get my plane ticket to go to Alaska. There was a little gentle persuasion, sort of direction on what sport I was gonna follow there. So that was fun. But who knows? Just in terms of what sport I would focus on. But clearly there was a little cross-country skiing was right at our back door.
Tim went to his first Olympic Games at age 16 and was part of the U.S. men's Nordic team from 1972 through 1984. Tim was the ultimate team competitor, but also won at least 1 national title in each distance.
My father built a house up in Jackson, New Hampshire, where we'd go on all vacations. He was a school teacher, so Whenever school wasn't in session, that's where we'd be. And to get in there, we had to hike or ski. There was no road in the early days. So my folks would, 4 kids under the age of 5, and we'd put on our little packs and wooden skis with toe straps and hike up in there. And that basically was skiing for us. We really didn't ride lifts at all, what lifts there were in those days, and it was a combination really of cross-country skiing and alpine skiing. And of course jumping, which, build snow jumps and jump. So skiing was a major activity for us as a family from day one. We were probably on skis at age 2 or 3. Yeah.
Skiing to and from the family's house soon was replaced by skiing for the U.S. women's Nordic team. And again, it was her parents who provided the impetus for her success. When members of the Swedish women's team visited the U.S. in the mid-60s, Martha's mother brought her to Putney so she could participate in a Nordic demonstration. Martha was hooked. She went on to set records and ski on the 1972 and 76 Olympic teams. A Putney alum and Dartmouth coach, Martha holds the best U.S. female international race result and, most importantly, paved the way for women skiers in the United States.
Just by trial and error, no instruction at all of any sort. I watched some of the cross-country skiers as we got closer up toward the day when we might compete. And I became interested in cross-country, and we used to cross-country ski on the same skis that we jumped on. They were made of pine, and they weren't very long to start with. They got a little bit longer.
In his early years, Warren Chivers was a tireless trainer and competitor, and later became a Pied Piper for cross-country skiing. Warren and his brothers built their own jumps and practice tracks in meadows near their home. He learned well. He skied on the 1936 Olympic Nordic combined team before concentrating on jumping. Warren's knowledge and enthusiasm were passed on to thousands of students at the Vermont Academy, where he coached from 1939 to 1980. There's a hill in Brattleboro where each winter for the past 84 years, skiers have taken flight. Harris Hill is named for Brattleboro native Fred Harris. By rights, every ski hill in America could be named for Fred. He's often called the man who put America on skis. Fred told people he had skiing on the brain, a malady that led him to fashion his own skis and glide down local hills and across farm fields. When Fred arrived at Dartmouth College, he was dismayed to find students hibernating in their dorm rooms during the winter months. He founded the Dartmouth Outing Club and led students on ski and snowshoe trips.
The most important thing that Fred Harris did was to lead his friends and his classmates out into the outdoors by example, but also to prod them along and goad them to discover the wonderful world of outdoors. That quickly resulted in what became the first intercollegiate ski races up on Balt's Hill. It became the basis for Dartmouth's storied ski team.
It was Fred who provided the impetus for the Dartmouth Winter Carnival. He also founded the Brattleboro Outing Club and in 1922 built Harris Hill. Fred's vision enabled children and adults to embrace winter and all it has to offer. They were pioneers, Pied Pipers, revolutionaries, and visionaries. Their passion endures today in everyone who celebrates life by gliding or skating through the winter.